Hey there guys, Sushikage here, and today we're going to be doing another deck profile. So today's deck is of course Mermails, and you can see my beautiful WCQ Mermail mat right here. It's a mat I've wanted for absolutely ages, but never really had a chance to get to any events for, so I did manage to pick one up on eBay. It actually arrived today, mint condition, straight out of packaging, never used, and it's beautiful. Mermails is a deck I've played for a long time, ever since they first were launched. I originally started playing them as just a kind of an offshoot on the Atlantean engine because I liked Atlanteans, because I am a fan of water themes in general, and I just fell in love with Mermails pretty much immediately. So they are a deck which is questioned at the moment but still can top events and still can do well. And let's have a look at the deck profile itself. Now, you'll notice right here that first of all I do have a lot of ultis. That's because it is a deck that has been bumped in rarity over and over and over through various different releases, and I think I've actually got like 15 ultimate rares in here, so we'll kind of count those as we go through. Anyway, the main thing that makes this deck great for consistency, or one of the main things, is this dude right here, Abyss Tears. He's one of the reasons why the deck is still playable, because of course he's a 7, he special summons out, he lets you drop, and also he searches one to your hand. He is a wonderful card. You have 2 Lind to go with him. Some people play 3 Lind. Those people who play 3 Lind obviously don't know how to play Mermails. Not to offend anyone, but you do not want to have that drawn into your hand. You ideally do not want to have 3 in a deck. If you draw into a 3rd, it's so dead. You want to be using your summon to bring out a Abyss Pike or bring out a Undyne to get some effects off. If you summon one of these out, it's often a very slow play. And even if you get it stuck in your hand, you don't want to be dropping it from your hand for any kind of cost, because it's not going to do anything. And dropping those cards and getting effects off of drops are what make Mermails, you know, fairly powerful, because it's often awkward for opponents to try and stop his graveyard effects. We'll go on to 1 Dragoons, of course, because it's that one, 3 Marksmen, and 1 Infantry. Some people play 2 and 2. I like 3 and 1 because, first of all, with 3 of these, I don't need to worry so much about having those MSTs. So I have managed to just remove them from my main deck entirely. They're decided right now. So I can add in upstarts instead of them for speed. But also, I feel that popping the face-ups isn't quite as relevant now, because there aren't as many face-up cards you need to worry about so much, unless things like Skill Drain come out into play, but you can even still play around that. Yeah, I just don't feel it's as needed, especially with your main obstruction Winder being a thing. Yeah, it's just not going to do anything to that, so I do feel it's nicer just removing that back row and playing for it, because of course it's a very back row heavy format right now. Then we've got 2 Undyne, and then 2 controllers to go with it. These controllers are actually rarity bumped up to dual terminal, which I think looks great. Took me a while to find a second one of these, but there you go. Some people play with 3 Undyne because they work on the logic, want to see it as quickly as you can. I like to keep a ratio of 3-2, so that means either 3 Pike, 2 Undyne, or 2 Pike, 3 Undyne. People do find it a bit crazy running 2 Pike. It's doable, it's very doable. It's been proven if you actually look at recent Mermail top deck lists. So yeah, you can do it, but I do prefer it in this ratio. Some people even run 3 and 3, but I don't like having that many normals in hand which don't do anything when dropped. I'm sure you can drop Undyne, but yet again, same concept as with Lind, you're not going to get anything off that dropping cost. So yeah. Some people play 3 and 2 and then use Emerald to put these back to the deck to make the rest of these live. But I don't like the fact that I have to sacrifice an extra deck slot, especially when the extra deck's as tight as it is, and we'll look at that in a bit. You have the standard 1 gun. You have the 3 Pike, which is, I feel, is a stronger option of the 3 and the 2. And then for boss monsters, you have Lead, Megalo. Some people run double Megalo. I like having a Lead in the Megalo because I like the fact that this is a nice beater, so it can beat over a lot of things. You then have Moulin Glacier, a lot of graveyard control, especially with Tidal. I'll pop this guy over here. And then, of course, you have the Tidal, beats over most things. It's a wonderful card. Moving on to the spells after this, there's 22 monsters right there. We have got 3 upstarts, because, you know, I didn't need those MSTs in main deck with these around. Add speed, consistency, great. It's an easy side out as well, so yeah, simple enough. Dark Hole. World clearing is still relevant, even if things like Winder can work around it. Mind control, because you can easily summon an Undyne, summon a Pike, get the effect off, do stuff, and then take one of your opponent's 3s or 4s overlay, or do whatever you need to. It's just
a great card right now. Gets around a lot of problems. You then have an Allure, which is also nice, another ulti right there. Allure is great because you often only need to use one controller, and even if you do end up using it up, you can just soul charge it back to make plays like Leo and whatnot. So yeah, Allure just helps with draw power. Book of Moon, I don't know why Mermail players aren't playing this as it is, because it's a great card, really good in this format, lets you set that window and go off. Yeah, it's just too good not to have in a deck. You then have 2 soul charge, 3's too many, 1's not enough to see it, 2's a perfect number. And then for traps, we've got 1 compulse. Before you say anything, it's not a common, it is actually a Duelist League once. So if you look, it's got that secret style writing on it. There we go. Something I picked up at Comic Con, so yeah, I just had to throw in there. Trencher Tribute, still feel it's relevant, it still clears boards. Solemn, another lovely ulti. My triple Abyss Sphere, recently just bumped these up to Ultimate, as you would have seen in my actual mail opening video the other day. I got the 2 other ultis finally, took a while to find them. Double Breakthrough, we all know why it's good, we all know why we have it, so yeah, we don't really need to talk about that. And then finally, 1 Malcat. I love running Malcat in this deck, especially considering how back row heavy this format is. So many times you'll set a card and they'll assume it's Sphere, and then they'll wait on it because they don't want to trigger it prematurely and waste a card on popping it, and they'll just attack into you and just expect you to flip it. And when you flip that Malcat instead, it is absolutely hilarious. It's such a nice card, it's really good for clearing those back rows. I love this card at 1 in this deck, because people just don't often see it coming, and when they do know it's there, it makes them hesitant to attack, so they can often make bad plays. And bad plays is always a good plus for you, because, yeah, it just gives you a nice little bit of advantage that you shouldn't normally have. So that is the main deck. That is 40 cards. Of course 40 cards, because no Mermail players really played more than 40 for a long time now, ever since this deck got hit repeatedly. So let's quickly pop these out of the way. So I'm just going to quickly scoop these. I don't want to see me just piling cards up for ages. No one comes here to watch that. Right, done. On to the extra deck. So the extra deck is, of course, standard 15. I'm just grabbing it now quickly. Let's pop my tokens out of the way for a second. So standard extra, we have normal 4s, we've got Lavalval. Need it for dropping stuff like Tidal sometimes, or he makes other plays happen and lets you stack, whatever. Arc, we know what it is, we know it's good, don't need to question it. Rhapsody, because emptying that grave is wonderful. We have Castell. Anyone who's watched any of my videos knows I love this card, it is so good right now. Yeah, enough said. Exciting, it's one of those things you have to have. If you don't have it, you can often lose. For threes, I've got Engineer, I've got Alucard, and I've got that Trite, which links back to the other 4, which should have been part a little bit early on, which is the Shark to go with the Trite, of course. I did really feel tempted to try and make Nightmare Shark in there somewhere, but I just didn't have room. It was just so tight on space as it is. The standard Dweller, which you just have to have in this deck. Then I've got the Leo for a 10. Wonderful card. Black Rose for a 7. You know, because you can make those plays off of those controllers. And then I've got 3 7s, which are a Gaios, a Big Eye, and a Dracosac. So pretty standardised lineup. Yeah, just it's so tight on space in this deck. You really just have to make sure you're making the most out of your plays and not spamming willy-nilly. I also have a few tokens. I know it's a little bit off subject, but these are actually... my tokens are actually Vanguard cards. You're probably thinking, what? Yeah, I play Vanguard, and these are actually one of the main boss monsters from one of the archetypes in there. It's actually a deck not too far off of Mermail. It's a mermaid based deck, and yeah, she is the would-be High Priestess of Mermails effectively in the Vanguard world, and it's actually quite a high rarity card and just makes a lovely token for those sacks, especially seeing as it follows that kind of water theme in there. So yeah, just in some basic little sleeves. Cool. One thing we're going to look at is a optional side. This isn't my cast iron definitely always use side, but it's just to go over you guys some ideas, because I've seen a lot of different variants of siding options to work with mermails, and it's often hard because of the way the deck works to find things that are going to be reliable for certain matchups. I run a Maxi and a Fly NC engine first of all, because yeah, Infernities, they're definitely still a thing, so there are problems, so that helps with that. You also have stuff like Cephalonites, anything really that wants to make rank 4s. This guy really can hurt them sometimes, so it's good. You just want to be careful about decks that have the ability to synchro, because they can just synchro them away. But yeah, so those 4 there. We then have, let's grab it quickly, 2 Diddy Crows. It's a nice thing you can draw into when you're playing off of this, and it's great for removing stuff from opponents' graveyards. You then have Grand Mole for bouncing. I normally play Metion in most of my decks, but the thing is, with Mermails, you often have something on the field pretty much all the time, because you have the monsters that just die, bring stuff back like Lind, and you often make plays off of things like Sphere, so yeah, you can't bring Metion out unless you have an empty field, so this guy's a bit more relevant, I feel, in Mermails, but Metion generally is a better option for most decks. You then also have in here, as I mentioned earlier, because I took them out of the main, my MSTs. So I've got these ones here, look a bit bleached. That's just because they're the ghost ones, because they are needed at times. Yeah. You then have, for removing certain things, Caiuses. I'd really like Monarch Storm 4th in here, really, but there's just not a lot of space for it. And it's also having that and this in hand at the same time. You just don't really want to be sacrificing that much of your hand, because you want to be making explosive plays happen, not stocking up cards that you can't use yet. And it's really easy to get them out anyway, because you can just go Tidal, then Tribute Tidal for him, so it's no real main problem in this deck. I have one more Malcat just for those super heavy back row decks. Yeah. And then finally I have 2 Cog-IDs. It's a bit of a weird option, but if you just literally side these in, it just helps with that consistency without having to worry about giving your opponent things like those life points. I know it does use up a normal summon, but if you actually open up a hand and you have Cog-ID and you have a Sphere, and you just set that Sphere, play the Cog-ID, draw in some more cards, as long as you're not just dead drawing effectively, then it will really make your hands quite explosive. It gives you a really good place to work with. I find that when I do side Cog-ID in, and draw something that's not awful, I don't know what you rely on great draws, but something that's not awful, I do often go pretty nuts on the next turn, and I do often win. Usually this leads straight into a win for me most of the time. So yeah, great card. But I mean, these are just ideas. You can play around with a lot of other options. I do recommend looking at some of the top Mermail decks at the moment to get some more ideas. But yeah, it's just options, and hopefully this will make you think about different things you can be doing. So there we go. That is my Mermail deck as it is. I might be using it at my next locals. I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to be running. I will be thinking about that across the next few days. And I will have some reports coming up from locals to let you know what's happening. And yeah, so more videos on the way soon, as always. If you want to rate, comment, subscribe, and feel free. I do appreciate any feedback. If you've got any requests, please let me know. And if you want any help or advice, feel free to message me. I'm always happy to reply and help you out when I can. Other than that, I hope you enjoy the video, and over and out.